What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Monday, February the 10th, fresh off the Super Bowl. We got all our friends hanging out today. I'm stoked about it, and it's a Mailbag Monday, so you know what that means. We've got mail, just like Blue's Clues. Let me introduce the panel to you. First and foremost, I'm going to send this one across the pond, all the way to Scotland. Host of the Soul Sessions, maybe in a bit of a mood today, maybe not. Who knows? He's got Hood on, though. Hoodie Soul, new character unlocked. What's going on, Soul?
I'm hungry. I'm tired. I've seen these questions. They've annoyed me. So I'm ready to get into it and go all out on these. So let's have some fun, boys.
Absolutely. Let's have a good old time. We've got Hoodie Soul in the building, but also our head of reviewing over here at Wrestling Republic, up north of the border here in the States, in Canada, Mr. Coby Galenzoski. What's going on, my friend?
What's going on? Of course, I'm back for the first time in a couple days, and of course, it's a Mailbag Monday, one of my inventions, and I haven't been able to plug that in a long time. Obviously, it was a great weekend for those of you who watched the Super Bowl. The Chiefs fell down, but and couldn't get back up at some point. But we're here. We're ready to talk wrestling and continue moving on. We're on the road to WrestleMania, and it's exciting.
You had to bring up the Chiefs. You just had to rub that in.
Just let him enjoy himself.
You're Canadian. You're not even from Philly.
Yeah, and the CFL stinks.
We've also got some comments. I make beats with good evening, folks. What's going on? He said he's listening to WR and playing Final Four. It's good to be alive on Monday night on YouTube, or what? Yes, sir, it is. We got Numero and Superfly, good friend of the show, with hello. And happy Monday from Fernando Zayas as well, also a friend of the show. I'm stoked about it. Let's get into it. We got some questions here. We got some topics. Out of the gates, we're going to talk about Solo Sikoa and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which I did not have on my bingo card headed into today. As you can hear, my voice is raspy, but this one's interesting because I didn't expect to discuss this at all. But the question is, and it's from Jose99, and it is, will Solo lose against Cody to tell him that he did it for The Rock? Is that possible? I'm going to start with you, Coby. Is that where we're going here?
No. The question surrounding this is kind of confusing because, yes, I understand Solo Sikoa has appeared and attacked Cody Rhodes, and I think the move is they're going to try to have him go, well, I want a title shot, and it's like, well, where do you deserve one? And he doesn't, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think this was an attack, and I'm going to talk more about this in depth in a bit, but I mean, keep in mind, if this was Solo Sikoa leading a new side of the bloodline for The Rock, you wouldn't have Jacob Fatu go and me and Tom run SmackDown now. You wouldn't have them running roughshod because they would be calm and collected. They'd be reserved. They'd be waiting for the right time to strike. And they're not. They're making enemies left, right, and center. To me, The Rock is out. I fully believe The Rock is out because we're sitting in a scenario where the Elimination Chamber is most likely going to determine the contender for the WWE Championship. The Rock's not wrestling the Elimination Chamber. He's not going to be in the seventh entrant for the match. I'm looking at someone who really doesn't have a spot elsewhere if we're going to kind of randomly shoehorn Rock and Cody Rhodes in this. There's not any scenario where I think it plays out where a year ago when we said, okay, well, Cody Rhodes is going to win. Cody Rhodes is then going to face The Rock next year, and then The Rock is going to face Roman the year after. I think whatever plans those were have fell through. The Rock is not coming for WrestleMania 41.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Coby. I completely agree. This is a situation that feels very much like if The Rock was going to be on the Mania card, he'd have shown up by now. right? Like we'd have heard If You Smell more often than just back in January at the Intuit Dome on the Raw on Netflix where he went and shook hands and kissed babies. We would know what's going on from here. I mean, the way I look at it, I don't know the direction for Solo because Jacob Fatu has just surpassed him. And that's what throws me. If we were going to see The Rock wrestle anybody from the bloodline, Roman Reigns would be one. For me, Jacob Fatu would be two. And no pun intended there, but seriously, that would be the way I would rank tantalizing matchups. The Rock against members of the bloodline. So I want to get your opinion on that. It's not like we're never going to see The Rock again, but it appears it's not this Mania season. If and when we do see him, where do you think it's going to be?
Probably film, because that goes into something else later, so I'll get into that. But here's the thing about Solo, right? He's never been properly built up, in my humble opinion. Yes, he won the NXT North American Championship, but he was stripped of it because he went to SmackDown and never came back or something like that. And then Dominic did the exact same thing and still got to keep the belt. So cool on that. He was always just the guy with a deadly thumb. He was always just the enforcer. He never won a mid-card championship. He never fully established himself toward his character. He only even really started talking after Roman left as well, when he decided to become the big man and put on his daddy's clothes and run the business. But then, look at it, right? He lost against Cody at SummerSlam. He then lost against Cody again at Steel Cage on the first SmackDown on their return to USA Network. He then lost to Roman and Cody at Bad Blood. He then lost to Roman on the first Raw on Netflix. Lost. Why is he in the title picture? Why? This is, again, another problem of WWE putting all their eggs in one basket, and it happens within the wrestling business, because we've had it for the longest time teased that, it's going to be Rock and Cody at WrestleMania 41, because we had the weird touching belts thing on the Raw after WrestleMania 40, right? And then he comes back at Bad Blood, does his 3 fingers, which is I'm making a movie, and then goes away, and then that's it done, right? And now we have him come out and say, I really love you, Cody Rhodes. I love you and your dad. Let's cheers and have some drinks. And then that's all gone up in the air and gone to smoke, and nobody really cares about it anymore, but that's what people wanted, because we were sold on that. And now it's been taken away. Now Cody is in the spot of going into WrestleMania, which it should be him and Cena, because that's the biggest match you can make with that title and for Cody Rhodes. And now you have this weird stretch, like after WrestleMania, and then literally before, honestly, this whole Kevin Owens stuff at Saturday Night Main Event, where it's just filler. This is like a TV show, and this is the filler to actually get to the good part, right? I would have done it with Sami Zayn and continue this descent into madness with him in the title, but they don't want to do that. So, right, that's fine then. So what do? You put him with Solo, the guy who's lost twice before in tribal combat and bloodline rules match. Steel Cage. And the Steel Cage, right? That's 2 big stipulations. What's this one going to be? Exploding barbed wire death match just to make it actual extra stakes. Okay, cool then. On you go, sunshine. But I have no investment in seeing Solo and Cody again. None. I don't care about Colo.
Which is why we're probably not going to see it. The only way we see it is it's either going to be non-title and just a match on SmackDown where the damage to Cody Rhodes' body continues to take place, which I like that. I like a long-term story that we're seeing. Cody Rhodes is being corrupted by the title. Or we're going to see it become where Cody Rhodes is going to go, well, his pride's going to get in the way. This guy attacked me. I need to face him in that sense.
Like the fact is for Solo though, he's not good. He's not entertaining. When you have Jacob Fatu, who's somebody that's gotten such a good presentation, that's what Solo should have had. Going with Braun Strowman and beating him so badly that the man's coughing up blood, and having that intense rivalry from someone like Braun that he just goes to him at the Rumble and pushes him out, and that's him satisfied. And then Solo is just like the guy. He is outshined in his own faction by his own family, and it's kind of funny. It's also kind of tragic as well that he's outshined by his other siblings, and he's just basically there like, I'm just the one in the background character. It's like when you build a party in a video game and you have the one that's just to do all the moves or the spell checks or all that stuff. Is like he's just the tool. He's just the tool while I play with all the other cool characters and can do all this other cool stuff. And he's just there. But I have no investment for Solo Sikoa. If anything, he'll be someone I can use as a jobber on universe mode in 2K25. I have no investment in him, seriously. He has a cool theme that's like out of the ones by the 60 I've made by Death Rebel when they actually try. Cool. You've done well for your job, actually, for once. But I have no investment on Solo Sikoa. I don't care about him. It's not linked to The Rock. The Rock's a movie star.
Yeah.
He wants to go make his films in a live-action remake of a film that's only came out 5 years ago because profits. Cool.
To your point, Sil, to your point, I agree. At this stage, Rock's going to wrestle Cody or Roman, and that's about it. That's just my opinion on that. And I don't think it's a bad question, but just that's my answer to that one. We got a bunch of comments I'm going to run through real quick. We got DTX Warlord with my question is on the graphic. Yes, sir, it is, and we will get to that shortly. We also have Aloha, everybody, from our good friend Sean Ellis. Absolutely. He also turned 48 today, dude. Happy birthday. I almost said congratulations, like he got married. I'm kidding. Happy birthday. All love, no doubt about it. I make beats with the cake and the happy birthday to Sean as well. And then I make beats commented, I like Solo, to be honest. His pseudo self-aware fake tribal chief got me over in the end. He has potential and was popular in NXT. I do agree that he has potential, but I do think it's been too up and down at this stage. Fernando Zayas added, I rolled my eyes when Solo attacked Cody at the end of SmackDown. Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of all did. Let's be honest with ourselves. But
I laughed. I laughed hard.
Yeah, I giggled. It was entertainment. Let's stick with the bloodline, though, really quickly, and let's talk about the Usos. And this question is from David the David 08. Is that 2008? That's not that long ago. But either way, Jimmy Uso turning on Jey Uso at SummerSlam 2023 in hindsight was a good decision, is the question. I don't know. Was it a good decision? Was it not? I don't know if it matters as much in hindsight. I hate to say that, but like Jay took off with the yeet thing, and I feel like it's unrelated. They're both, in my eyes, equally talented. I don't know. I don't know how relevant it is to the current state of the two. I don't even know if that heel turn in hindsight affected this Royal Rumble victory for Jay. I don't know. Like they were gonna wrestle, but it doesn't feel like that's even a huge part of the narrative that we see coming since that match between Jimmy and Jay. Like they kind of settled it, and it's over when it comes to that. I don't know. Coby, can you explain?
I think I can, and I mean, the thing is we were never officially sold as wrestling fans on the explanation Jimmy gave until we look back at it now and go, yeah, he was right. The thing is it as relevant to today's Jey Uso? No, it's not. But it's relevant to the thing that we say time and time again on this show, on the daily broadcast, that the bloodline storyline as a whole has been the most successful long-term story of all time. And I think that's what it makes sense here. We saw Jimmy Uso say, Jay, I didn't want you to be corrupted. I didn't want you to be in the position where you became the manipulator as the tribal chief. And we look at it and we see the fact that Roman Reigns went, the next person in line is Solo Sikoa. And look what Solo did in a year. Solo took his ball and said, okay, losses are going to mean something. So that means things have to change. And that's what happened after WrestleMania. Solo got corrupted so badly that he brought in these dangerous men of Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and most importantly, Jacob Fatu. And that's the thing. That's where this storyline's going to come in. That's where this storyline's going to wrap up, because now Solo's actions are going to come back to bite him. Solo's actions are going to be important because now Jacob Fatu is going to be the one to put the bullet in his head. That's the storyline we're going from here, and if we look at it in the grand scheme of things, it makes sense. They've been able to tell a story where it makes sense, and I think that's where I can sit here and say that entire costing Jay the title was justified, and it makes sense with the story being told, because once they said, okay, Solo's the next in line, it corrupted Solo Sikoa. So there was truth to what Jimmy didn't want to protect Jay from. And I think that's the brilliance of this, because it made sense.
I hear that. We have a ton of comments here too to run through. I'm stoked about it. We got Thando, first time viewer. Hi, gentlemen. What's going on, man? Thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to throw out comments at any time. I'll try to read as many as I possibly can, no doubt about it. We also got Numero and Superfly with Jimmy turning on Jay. SummerSlam 2023 was a good decision. It was what they did after, and just have him rejoin the bloodline that ruined it a bit. I would actually agree with that comment. Absolutely. We've also got Jay versus Jimmy from our good friend
Jerry
Fernando.
Lawler versus Michael Cole exists.
Yeah, that did happen. I will say, I'm like, that's a little bit of hyperbole there, but I would say it was the most disappointing, because on paper it should have been electric.
On paper,
I would argue that.
Exactly. On paper, it should have been much better.
Yeah, it should have been way better than it was, but there are worse.
But I can't, even looking back at it now, I can't sit here and say there was a lot of negatives.
Well,
it was an uneventful match.
My very
I can't sit here and go, oh, I was uncomfortable watching this, or I was disgusted watching it. There's far worse matches to say.
I know you had even mentioned also Cole and Lawler there, but I went to WrestleMania 12 for my very first WrestleMania show, and people forget Hunter Hearst Helmsley, not the Triple H or the Paul Levesque that we know, got squashed by the Ultimate Warrior, and I would put that one far and away.
That's more of a moment, though.
Oh, no, this was 12 seconds. They did nothing.
Yeah, but that wouldn't... Wow.
They did nothing. They did nothing.
I mean, even the Pandemic Mania had Morrison, Kofi, and Montez in a freeway tag title match because of the pandemic. There was restrictions.
That was a really good
Jimmy representing the Usos.
Yeah, like that was terrible. That was terrible.
Jimmy.
No, it wasn't. That was a good ladder match. It was
I fell asleep.
It was a really.
I've never seen a triple threat singles ladder or triple threat ladder match for the tag belts with one half of each team.
No, I was gonna. Hey. So you literally had a softball and could have said Corbin versus Elias.
Hey, I like
that was worse from WrestleMania.
I like Elias.
Heck, Cena Theory.
I think there's a lot of people that do.
Heck, the three of us were there for Cena Theory. We all saw
that was kind of bad. No, Omos and Lesnar sucked. That sucked.
No,
I didn't think that was as bad as a lot of people did. I thought that was okay.
It did what it needed to do, and it got. I mean, Brock was selling, and then Brock got his pop for.
We've also got I like the Lord of the Rings story. Karma at its finest. Then don't forget that this is I Make Beats said. Don't forget they recruited Big Bronson Reed before he crushed his ankles. Him, Jacob, and Tama Tonga would be a crazy trio. Yeah. Yes, they would. And then, the. DCX Warlord, Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee exists.
Exactly.
He just drops the gauntlet on us. That is outstanding. That match happened, fundamentally speaking. Oh, that's too good. But really quickly, let me
Mark Henry versus Ryback exists.
That existed too.
Chavo Guerrero versus Kane, ECW championship match, 10 seconds.
Woof. I mean, honestly, as great as Daniel Bryan is, the Sheamus Bryan match is ridiculous too.
That was a squash.
It was, but it was just like, it's funny, but it's not a great match. But either way, we could do this the rest of the day, but let me talk to you really quick about our friends over at Etsy. No matter which phone you have, whether it's an iPhone or an Android or whatever, it's on both app stores. Download the It's Etsy app on the App Store or Google Play Store and head to the upcoming stream section. We're pretty much doing this every weekend. It's awesome. You can join, and the best part about it is if you really want to argue with us, you can come on the stream and you're going to have your time to shoot your shot. Trust me, it is worth it. We also did awesome giveaways at the last one, the Rumble review that we did this weekend. Check it out. Head over to the App Store or the Google Play Store. Download the Itsy app. That's ITSY. But let's keep it rolling on today's show, my friends. Let's keep it moving here. Let's talk about, is The Rock better than Roman Reigns? Which this is kind of a wild one here. So the question was asked by health_uncovers success. There's an underscore between uncovers and success as well. But it is The Rock better than Roman Reigns ever was? That's the question. I'm so confused. And I also have it on the wrong camera angle, but like, is that the real questions? I mean,
the question is The Rock better than Roman Reigns? I mean, that's essentially what the question is being proposed here. And in all honesty, no, in my personal opinion. Now, yes, this may be because I'm a wrestling fan who got into it in 2019, so I'm a bit late to the party. But for me, the first ever introduction for me of The Rock, or Dwayne The Rock Johnson, was The Mummy Returns, where he was the Scorpion King. And I just know him as the guy that was the final boss of that movie. And that's it. Like, if you look at Rock's initial run with the WWEF, it's from 1996 to 2004. And even in 2004, it was one match he had. And that's not a long time. Now, granted, you could be like, well, it's not a short amount of time. So he's done so many things. He's left that much of an impact. He's great. You can make that argument. But when you look at Roman Reigns, from 2010, he was with FCW. And to now, he's done a lot, and he's also been there longer than The Rock. If you look at all of The Rock's championship accolades, Roman's one run with the WWE Universal Undisputed Championship at that 1,000 days eclipse anything The Rock's done, right? I know people are going to be mad and annoyed at this, and cool, that's your opinion. In my opinion, I would prefer to see a Roman Reigns match than The Rock, because The Rock, to me, is just a movie star that makes bad movies for the Chinese market. That's it for me. He makes those movies that are just CGI spectacles and flare effects and everything, and they make a lot of money because people can just turn their minds off and not have to pay attention to a thing called a plot. I think The Rock, is he a good guy? Probably is, absolutely. He does a lot of good charity work. He does a lot of connections with people, and that's it as well. But in the terms of for the professional wrestling world, I think Roman Reigns is better because obviously he's been there longer than The Rock. He has more accolades than The Rock. Honestly, I know people harken back and like, we hate him back then, and I've seen it. It's like, I see it, yes. I wasn't watching back then. Even when I started watching 2019 and he was doing the Baron Corbin dog food stuff, right? I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was quite cringy, but I didn't think it was like, oh, this is despicable. I never want to see this guy on TV again. I thought it was all right. And again, as well, like The Rock at WrestleMania 40, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to talk about this, was absolute garbage. Since The Rock has came back from the 2004 period, every single thing he's done is garbage. From the WrestleMania main event where he's the special guest in like between Miz and John Cena, and was such a massive caveat on that thing. It was literally, he was just sitting in the wing with his big bald head reflecting. It was like the biggest eyesore in that match. Even coming back as well and doing the stuff with Punk to have 3 matches, taking the title off Punk, the Elimination Chamber, and then the really bad rematch with Cena from their once-in-a-lifetime thing. Didn't really enjoy it. Then he came back to squash Eric Rowan in 6 seconds in the AT&T WrestleMania. And even coming back, he had the final boss stuff was cool. Do not get me wrong. Was entertaining. But then he had the 40-minute match. Look, I like Will Ospreay matches, and they go a long time as well. But there's a thing called a breath. Take a breath. I can't stay focused on a 40-minute Extreme Rules, Bloodline Rules, because we have to hide all this caveat matches and to give himself his own title as well. I don't like that. It's not for me personally. I'm not entertained by it. I really, 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 really don't like it. Okay. I know I'm going on a tangent here, but I'm also hungry as well, and I kind of want to have my food. I just can't stand The Rock when I know him as a movie star. when I know him as the guy in Scorpion King, the Tooth Fairy, Fast X, Hobbs and Shaw. I know him as a movie star, and I know Roman Reigns as a wrestler.
So I think this is fascinating, and I do really, really actually respect your perspective, especially because, like, in recent years, The Rock it's a unique conversation. It's not comparing to active pro wrestlers. One thing I will say is The Rock ran so Cena could too. The Rock was a lightning rod in his prime. And if we're talking about prime Rock as far as entertainment value and all of that versus what I would call Roman's prime, which is post Shield, which is ironically, post Big Dog. You mentioned the dog food earlier. I think we would all argue Roman Reigns' true prime started the day they panned the camera to Paul Heyman. I think logically speaking,
I would say his prime started when he cut that excellent promo after defeating The Undertaker at Mania, just saying, "This is my yard now," and walking off. I love that promo because it's just it's like a one shotgun blast. Like, obviously, after it was, he was just a bit lukewarm there. He should have been a full heel at that point, and obviously that's not where the direction the company took him at that point. But that promo is just basically a massive middle finger to the WWE universe, and it's funny, and I love it.
I absolutely love this comment. The Rock is Michael Jordan, Roman is LeBron James. I think that's fair. I think that's actually a very fair assessment there.
I think as well.
They're both great.
Maybe for obviously Clark, someone who's watched wrestling for a long time, but I think someone for like me and people more just getting into wrestling, they'll know The Rock more as a movie star.
Right.
My viewpoint of him is always going to be the guy I would just see on really bad
Tooth Fairy, like I would walking watch, right? Tall.
Yeah, exactly. Like he is a movie star to me. I wasn't watching wrestling in the 2001 or the Invasion or all this and all the Hollywood Rock stuff. I'm going back and watching it, and it seems all right, but I'm not there in the moment to live it. When I know in the back of my mind, oh, that's just the guy that I've seen on these bad movies, right? That's my viewpoint of The Rock. I know people wanted like the Rock and Roman Reigns match. People wanted this and wanted this and wanted this, and every time we feel like we get blocked in some way. Then we get this whole Cody thing. And don't get me wrong, seeing him talk is entertaining. He's a great, great talker. But in the ring, I don't think he's on the caliber of Roman Reigns.
This is something that I find really interesting because I will say, in the ring right this second, you're probably correct. Yeah, almost for sure. If you go in the ring if you compare him at Roman's age, I would consider them equals. He put on one of the greatest matches of all time in my eyes at WrestleMania 18 against a Hulk Hogan that couldn't really move that well. They had to adjust it. Hulk Hogan is not putting on 5 stars. Never has.
No.
Never. That's not who Hogan is. Rock made that match in Toronto at WrestleMania 18. This is where I find it fascinating because The Rock, in some ways, in my eyes, is like a scientific miracle. Rocky Sucks was his initial reception from the crowd at the Garden when he was Rocky Maivia. Mm-hmm. And then you have him join the Nation of Domination as the throwaway one. As the throwaway character. They had D'Lo ahead of him in the group. Mm-hmm. Like, it was an ugly situation. While simultaneously you have Stone Cold Steve Austin with the McMahon rivalry and with the Tyson rivalry and with the match with Michaels and winning the title. And you needed somebody to somehow be able to match that and line up against him and have it be relevant. And that is, to me, why The Rock holds such a special place in wrestling history. The Rock was as necessary to the Attitude Era, the extension of really putting WCW out of business as anything. And there's a lot of credit given to like booking and all of these other things. Rock and Austin will probably never see again a rivalry like that. That's so unlikely. Roman and Cody was as close as I've seen, but we'd be begging for 3 like we were with Rock and Austin if it was in the same category. And that's where I draw the line. I would go Rock slightly ahead of Roman, but only slightly because of the way he's also transcended the business. The Rock brings eyeballs back to the business in a way that Roman Reigns is going to have to become the next Jason Momoa to basically attain the same level of success there. But to your earlier point, I agree with you a lot, Soul. Especially if I didn't grow up on little kids seeing The Rock. The current iteration, the howdy doody handshakes at Raw and Netflix, the things like that, it's not the right. It's a little bit like Diet Rock. It's like Rock Light is what we get now. And that, if we're comparing those two, the answer is Roman Reigns, right? That's the way that I look at this one, just because it's a funky situation. The guy is that good. He still has an affinity for the WWE itself. So he does come back, and I appreciate that. I respect that. But he doesn't need to.
No.
And so it's a little different. His back isn't against the wall the same way it was when he was in his prime.
I clearly think for The Rock, like his main focus is obviously his movie career. That's why he's taken on all these projects and couldn't contribute to Mania this year, as we are obviously speculating because obviously of the weird thing that happened on the Raw on Netflix. When you know that that's his priority, when like what does that say? Of course, people can go about he was great back then, but you can't deny with somebody like Roman Reigns and CM Punk and Rollins and Cody leading this charge now where the business is in its most profitable, maybe not its most popular, but definitely its profitable era.
That's very true.
And that's something you got to take into factor as well, because with wrestling, you have to take in-ring profitability, and I would even say character, right? You take in those three factors and obviously best wrestler in the world, very subjective, but like there's three traits that wrestlers need to have: profitability, in-ring work, and character. And I think that's something we need to obviously compare. But obviously, we open the whole timeline door, and we could probably bring in Giant Baba and Fabulous George, and then we're going to be in a real pickle.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's so true. No, but I think you also made a great point there. The profitability aspect is the argument for Roman Reigns, because it's not just about popularity. It's about the entire business, and that I think that's an absolutely excellent point. But let's move on to our main event of the afternoon, evening, or morning, depending on where you are. Let's talk about some John Cena. And this one's from DCX Warlord. See, I told you I would read it finally. This one is from our good friend DCX Warlord, and it is: will John Cena appear on TNA during his retirement tour? I'm going to hold my thoughts for later, and I'm going to lead with you, Soul. Will he show up in TNA?
So the main thing with this, obviously, is that you have to take in the factors of he's done at the end of the year. 2025, whenever that, the end of that, December 31st, whatever the Raw is or whatever special or whatever they do, that's it. He's done. Do you want to take the risk of him going somewhere else and an injury happening? God forbid it does happen, and then the whole plans are kaput, right? As well, Cena, since he pretty much started, minus some OVW, Florida Championship stuff back in the day, I think, has been WWE completely. Look at his cage match, it's literally just the logo all the way up. I think WWE would like to keep him as like the guy who never left. He always wrestled every year. He was always there. I think that's what they would like to keep. And also as well, you don't know how many matches he has left in him before maybe things happen or something like that, right? You want it all to be focused in the WWE. I would be shocked if Cena went to TNA and wrestled, but I wouldn't be shocked if a TNA talent came to the WWE and wrestled Cena. Like, say Cena went to NXT and, he says, I'm just here to feed up some fresh faces. Heck, even if he's got the WWE Championship at the time, and he's like, I'm ready to take on some challengers. Let's go. And, he faces some challenges down there like Obafemi or Ethan Page or Wesley. And then he's going to be like, oh, I want to branch out. We talk about this door. I want to blow it off its hinges and let people in. And you do, ideally, the match from that company that will put eyes on it. You do the Joe Hendry match. And heck, if you want to do legendary aspect that you could add on to Cena as being a 17-time champion and all his accolades, you do, how about Cena's like, we do the first thing that's ever happened in the WWE. We do TNA champion, WWE champion, let's do it. And you advertise it as a title versus title match. But the way you circle around it and everybody, you know, it's fine, nobody belts or chains, is you build a feud within TNA of what I would do is you build Mike Santana going after Joe Hendry. Mike Santana interrupts and costs Joe Hendry, so it ends in a DQ. And then you could do a match on NXT of Joe Hendry and John Cena versus Mike Santana and Eric Young. Let's just say that, right?
I would dig that.
Because I think that'd be entertaining. And as well, I think that's something that Cena would like to do, because for this first season of his retirement run hasn't been what I thought it would be. I thought he would be on Raw near enough every second week at least, having a match and putting on a match and being that draw for Raw that people want to see. But no, if he's only going to be on pay-per-views, that would be disappointing. If he does go and win the Elimination Chamber and gets the belt and then only defends on pay-per-view, that would be disappointing. I think a lot of people, especially in this modern age, harken back to John Cena with the US title, the open challenge stuff. Like, a lot of people love that, I know, and we're so popular with that. And I think with Cena and the retirement run, if you want to make it a spectacle, make it historical, make it achievable, you let him do an open challenge, or you let him be somebody that is willing to take the risks and do things that are going to get hardcore and less hardcore fans entertained. And to have him go against Hendry and then a DQ finish with Santana and then a team up of the WWE champion and the TNA champion,
that'd be
could
cool.
Be even against it could even be like, Mike Santana or Eric Young versus like Ethan Page or Obafemi to have that kind of crossover effect. That would be an achievement in itself.
Yeah. No, I hear exactly where you're coming from, and it's funny because I was probably more skeptical going into this about answering this question, but you did kind of convince me there. I like that idea. The idea of even just a tag match in an interaction, just to give the rub, makes so much sense to me. Coby, though, I'm going to go to you next. Who do you think, if anybody, Cena, TNA, is it possible? And if it is, who?
The thing that I want to kind of talk about is, do I want it to happen? I'd love it. I'd love to see it. I mean, John Cena is one of my favorites of all time, and it'd be cool to while it's not his first indie appearance under WWE, because we know there is one he did in, I think, 06 or something like that. But like, this would be for the moment. This is John Cena's retirement tour, and he's going to do something fun, and he's going to do something in that sense. Would I love this? Yeah, I'd be very much interested. I'd enjoy seeing John Cena appear on TNA, whether it was to do something, a segment with Joe Hendry, or even a segment with someone like Moose. There's so many things that they could do, but since the question is, will he appear in TNA? I personally think it's no. I don't think it happens. As much as I think all of us would sit here and go, yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be interesting. That would be cool. And not to bury Soul's idea of the title versus title, I think the idea that would kind of hinder that is like, well, we know nothing would happen, so we would kind of expect a not finish. To me, it has to happen. I don't think it happens. I'd be interested in it happening, but I don't think it happens.
Yeah. Okay. Let me talk about it really quick. Let me talk to you, in the words of LA Knight. John Cena in TNA would be electric. Cena, AJ Styles, well before they did it in WWE, was a conversation that I was having in the early 2010s, late 2000s, like 15, 16, 17 years ago, all those things. Could have got my driver's license twice by now since I've been talking about this. But the answer to the question, will John Cena appear in TNA on TNA programming, if that's the specifics, is absolutely no chance. No way. Like, what? No. John Cena loves wrestling in the WWE, and that's awesome. There's not enough money in the world to get him to go to a TNA show. Why would you do that? Unless you wanted to try to fill a stadium on only Cena's back, which lends you to a spot where Unfortunately, likely it'll be a letdown. Unless you're trying to fill a big old arena for one TNA show just on John Cena, there's no reason for this. Not in the world. Will he have interactions with TNA talent? Possibly, as has been presented by both Coby and Soul here too. I agree with that. That's possible. But will he show up on a TNA show? No way. No way in the world. Absolutely not. And I will eat crow if I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong on this one. I am not wrong on this one. There is no chance he shows up at like a TNA taping.
Generally, it would be very, very, very shocking if Cena even appeared by video on a TNA program.
Yeah, I would be if he sends in like a selfie video on screen mirroring
via satellite.
maybe, but no chance. No. I would love to see it. I would be excited about it if it happened.
Yeah.
If we're talking hypotheticals, 100%, I'd be fired up about it. But I really don't see him showing up on a TNA show. He's more likely to show up at NXT. We saw The Rock do that this year. We already discussed him earlier. He somehow managed to like half bury NXT in his one promo on Tuesday night. He's like, last night was the show you need to go to. This is the one you want to go to. And you're like, you didn't plan that.
No, you didn't plan any of it.
No, that was not your best work, Rock.
No.
Either way, though, that does bring us to the end of today's show. Thank you, everybody that tuned in. Absolutely. Happy Monday. Happy Mailbag Monday. We appreciate everybody in the comments. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do. It means the world to us. On behalf of me, Soul, and Coby, remember to tune in tomorrow, same time, same place. That's going to be noon Pacific, 3 o'clock over on the East Coast. That's 8 o'clock in the UK, and of course 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. We will talk to y'all soon. Have a good one.